Hello, this is Ms. Harris here to talk to you about decimal values. Below you have your place value chart. Go ahead and press pause and take a minute to review it. Remember that as you go to the right, your values get smaller because you're dividing by 10 in every place. When you go to the left, your values are getting bigger because you're multiplying by 10 every time. So when you're examining place values and need to compare digits with each other based on what place they're in, two questions you can ask yourself to help you get to the correct answer. Which way did the digit move and how many times did it move? If your digit moved to the left, that means you multiplied, so your value got bigger. If your digit moved to the right, that means you divided, so it got smaller. And remember that division can be shown as a fraction. How many times did it move? If it moved one time, that means it had a value of 10. Two times a value of 100, and three would be a value of 1,000. That's based on the place value chart that you saw on the previous screen, multiplying by 10 each time. So for the first example, 42.7 and 6.2. And your question would say, how does the 2 in 42.7 compare to the 2 in 6.2? Whatever place or number that is mentioned last, there's where you look first. So I am looking at the 2 in 6.2 first. And then I'll look at the 2 above. So if I look at the bottom first, which way did it move over? It moved to the left. So I know part of my answer will have multiply. How many times did it move over? Do not count where you started, you count the movement. So one time over, so it is 10 times bigger. Sometimes they'll give you one number, but two of the same digits. How does the 8 in the hundreds place compare to the 8 in the 8 in the tens place compares to the 8 in the hundreds place? So they mentioned the hundreds place last. Which way did it move? It moved to the left. How many times over? 3 times. So the 3 times give you the value of 1,000. Okay. Next, you have your powers of 10. Remember that an exponent, which is the small number, and your base is the big number, tells you how many times to multiply the base to itself. So this does not mean 4 times 3. It means to multiply by 4 3 times, which is 4 times 4. Take a minute, press pause, read through the screen for the next set of examples. So now that we read through the notes, let's practice. First problem, 45.1 times 10 to the third power. I'm multiplying, so that means my digits need to be sitting on the left. In order for my digits to be on the left, I will move my decimal point back to put all digits on the left. My exponent is 3, so that means I'm moving my decimal point 3 times. So, and I'm going back. So 1, there's not a digit, so I need a 0. 2, not a digit. 3. Remember, you're not counting the zeros, you're counting the movements. So your decimal point is no longer between the 5 and the 1. You moved it behind the 0. Next, 6.82. I'm multiplying, so my digits all need to be on the left. In order to get them on the left, I need to move my decimal point back. So 10 to the 4th power, I'm moving 4 times. Count the movements. 1, 2, nothing there, so I need a 0. 3, another 0, and 4. Is my answer now, 68,200. Next, 72 times 10 to the 1st power. Multiplying, so my digits need to be on the left. First of all, I do not see a decimal point like I saw in the other numbers. So When you do not see the decimal point, 72 is a whole number from your place value chart. All your whole numbers are located on the left of the decimal point. So when I do not see the decimal point, it's always located at the end of the number, because 2 is in the ones, and remember that your decimal point always separates the ones place and the tenths place. So 10 to the first power, I'm moving one time. I need my digits to stay on the left. They're on the left right now. I need them to stay there. So I'm moving my decimal point back, and I'm only moving one time. Nothing's there, so I put a 0 and 1. Remember, you're not counting the zeros, you're counting the movements. All right, if we had to divide, when I divide, that means my digits should be on the right side of the decimal point. So this time, to put them on the right, I need to move my decimal point up. I'm moving 3 times because of my exponent. So let's count. 1, 2. I need to move. I put a 0. 3. Remember that you show the 0 in front of the decimal point if nothing is there. Next, I am dividing, so my digits need to be on the right. So that means I'm moving my decimal point up. My exponent is 4. I need to move 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. Remember, we're putting those zeros because in order for you to move, there has to be a digit there. Since there is no digit, you put a 0. And last, we have 72. We're dividing, so they need to be on the right. When you do not see the decimal point, it's located at the back. Moving one time, and I'm moving up so that I can put something on the right side. 1. Oh, sorry, only moving one time. So my answer is 7.2. Feel free to go back in the video and try them on your own. Press pause and try the problems on your own, and press play to check your work. Forms. Remember, you have standard form, which means the regular number. Word form, you write what you say. Expanded form, you taking each digit and based on the place that it's in. Expanded notation, you are multiplying your digit times the place that it's in. Unit form, you have the number and words. So if you're ever unsure about your place values, remember you can label your number first. Remember, your decimal point always separates the ones and the tenths. So if you know those two, you can fill in the rest. Standard form, already given. Word form, write what you say. 45. When you see the decimal point, you say and. When you get behind the decimal point, say the number that you see. So we see the number 16. And the place that you will say is the last digit wherever it's sitting. So the 6 is sitting in the hundredths place. So that's how you read it. 45 and 16 hundredths. Word, okay, that's the word form. Expanded form, my 4 is in the tens place. So it has a value of 40. 5 is in the ones, has a value of 5. 1 is in the tenths, so I have 1/10. And 6 is in the hundreds, so I have 6 hundredths. Expanded notation, take each digit multiplied by the place that it's in. 4 times is in the tens place, plus 5 times is in the ones place, plus 1 times is in the tenths place, plus 6 times is in the hundreds place. So if you label your number first, your answers will be right there in front of you. And we have the unit form. You're basically telling how many of each place value there are. So 4 tens, 5 ones, 1/10, and 6 hundredths. or you could put 1600s. Both of those work. Next, you're comparing decimals using inequality symbols. Press pause and review the notes below. So, first thing you're supposed to do is make sure each comparison amount is in standard form. So 2400s, wherever that the place that it says, that's where that last digit needs to be sitting. Okay, step one, you're supposed to line your decimal points up, fill in or rewrite your numbers like they are in the problem once you put it in standard form. Fill in your empty places with 0, start at the left, and you're going across. 0 and 0, if they're the same, remember you go to the next column. 2 and 2 are the same, 4 and 0, 4 is greater. So that means my symbol needs to be opening to 2400s. Next, you have 40 plus 1 plus 2 tenths. We put that back together, 40. That means that 4 is in the tens place, 1 is in the ones. Whenever you start seeing fractions, that means a decimal point has come, and 2 is in the tenths. Remember, when you don't see the decimal point, it's located at the end. So I line my decimal points up and rewrite my numbers as they are shown. Fill in your empty places with a 0. Start at the left, 4 and 4, 1 and 1, 2 is greater than 0. So opening. Okay, next, both of them are in standard form, so I can line my decimal points up, write in my numbers as they are shown, or my digits rather, sorry. Start at the left, so this would be equal. And lastly, remember when you do not see the decimal point, it's located at the end. First step, you line your decimal points up, write in your numbers as they are shown. Fill in empty places with a 0. Start at the left. 1 is greater than 0. So, okay. Next, we have rounding decimals. Press pause and go through the notes below. So, if I'm rounding, remember the first thing you should do if you're not sure about your place values, go ahead and label them. The decimal point always separates the ones and the tenths. Once you do that, you should be able to label the rest. We do not go past the thousands, but you can imagine what comes next, 10,000, because you're multiplying by 10 every time. And it should be 10. Okay, so number 1, round to the nearest tenths place. Step 1 said locate your target. Whatever place the problem tells you to round to, find that digit in that place. So I'm going to underline my 3 because that is the tenths place. Step 2 says look at the digit behind your target. So I'm looking at the 9. If it's less than 5, you stay the same. Your target stays the same. If it's greater than 5, your target goes up 1. So 9 is greater than 5. So my 3 turns to a 4. So when I write my answer, everything behind my target turns to a 0. That 3 became a 4. Keep my decimal point, and everything in front of the target stays the same. And remember, you can drop those zeros that are behind the decimal point. All right, next we have round to the nearest hundredths place. So now you need to find the digit that's in the hundredths place, which is the 9. Okay, step 2, look to the digit behind your target. It's a 6. 6 is greater than 5. So everything behind my target will turn to a 0. So my 9, remember, it goes up 1. 9 plus 1 is 10. Now, if we were doing an addition problem, you would not write You would not tell me 10 and then say 8. That's incorrect.